really is just someone else's computer. But it isn't catastrophically failed. Let's start the scratch test. The screen starts to scratch at a level 6. This is definitely the norm for this phone. Lasted 11 seconds with the flame directly applied to the screen. Then the pixels turned off. But as the phone cooled down, the pixels recovered, turned back on, and were fully functional again. Not every phone recovers. The Galaxy S7 Edge that you saw previously in this video has a permanent burn mark on the screen after the flame test. The phone screen is cool to the touch within seconds. Remember that I have tested over 25 phones now and only 3 have catastrophically failed. Let's move on to the bin test. This robin did not make it very far from the nest. Even budget phones normally survive this bin test. Let's open up the next bit robin and analyze, and it's actually also the first Oppo phone I've ever tested. So I'd like to officially welcome Oppo to my desk and my durability test. Sapphire would be an 8 or a 9, with diamonds following at a level 10. Here we see marks at a 6, fire right on the weather app, since it's so hot outside and only getting hotter. The 6.4-inch 1080p display is AMOLED, and after 14 seconds we got proof of that with the rather nice white burn mark in the center of the screen. That never recovers. LCDs usually recover, but AMOLEDs burn white and stay that way. Now for the bin test. Bin tests are important because they show how structurally sound a phone is, and gives us a general idea of how well it'll hold up over time, with accidental abuse. Remember, I've tested over 100 phones, and the vast majority of the phones I test survive. Even the previous motorized Vivo Nex. Commencing the bend on the Oppo Find X, I instantly knew something was wrong with this phone. It bent way too far, and never locked out or stopped bending like most phones do. Some parts of the phone can handle the flex, like the metal frame, but one thing that can't handle the flexing is the rigid and brittle AMOLED display panel. That display underneath the glass cracks, rendering the screen pretty useless since the colors now have a mind of their own. The back panel starts lifting off and both the front and rear glass shatter into oblivion. You might be thinking, yeah, of course it broke, you just bent it in half. But keep in mind that over 90% of the phones I get my hands on are strong enough to withstand durability-wise from this device. Accidents happen, and it's better to know beforehand whether your device can survive the next few years at your side. This device is the dual SIM version with the 16 megapixel hardness of the glass remains the same though, not scratching until level 6, so that part is still good. For the fire. This 1080p IPS LCD display lasted 10 seconds before turning black. The screen did recover completely and was cool to the touch within seconds. Still no comparison to the Moto Z's 50-second resilience test. As we start the flex, it is immediately reminiscent of the Redmi 3 Pro. With the screen flexing out of the frame, you can see the plastic edge crack on the display. The major difference here is when the Note 3 screen actually comes up and out of the back panel. I was not expecting that to happen, as it seems like common sense to screw all the components together instead of free float them. It is built very similar to the HTC M9, which also failed the bin test. Because of that free-floating, unscrewed, and unattached back cover, the rest of the device is pretty much a goner at this point. Literally the only thing holding the back cover to the BlackBerry Key 1, barely released here in the United States a few days ago. This is the latest and greatest flagship from BlackBerry, one of the oldest smartphone manufacturers in the business. And this rectangle slab of Gorilla Glass 4 scores exactly the same hardness level we would see on a Galaxy S8 or an iPhone 7. So far, this BlackBerry is holding up pretty well to its competitors. The burn test. This has become increasingly more relevant now that Trump has pulled the USA out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Things are going to heat up rather quickly, and it'll be nice to have a cell phone that can handle the temperature. I'm sure Donald will be watching my videos to see which phone allows him to tweet the longest while the world burns. This phone lasted about 16 seconds. Now the bin test. Testing the overall build quality of a phone is essential to the people who want a phone that will survive everyday life. And unfortunately, this BlackBerry Key 1 is not a survivor. I was even holding the screen when it popped out of the frame. It surprised me to see the screen do that, since most other screens like Samsung have so much adhesive behind them it takes a high-powered heat gun or industrial hot plate to remove them. And this BlackBerry screen is held in by nothing. A quick bend from the other side, and at this point my screen stopped functioning entirely. 1, the power button was kinked, since the glass is adding zero structural support without that strong adhesive, and 2, with the screen lifting up like it is, the first thing to tear is that ribbon cable at the bottom of the display. The whole thing can be removed entirely by hand,
because there is zero adhesive holding it in place.